Hi. So for this week, we kind of talked about biases and prejudice and stuff like that. And so I chose option two, and I read this article, and it just talked about how like everyone has prejudices and like biases, but like you might not know because they're just like unconscious, and you just kind of like learned it growing up. And it just kind of talked about how kids develop biases as young as age 3. And it's just kind of like learned from their family, like how they're raised, like school or anything like that. Um, and they said that unconscious bias can affect how we like act towards people. Which like I was like, yeah, definitely. Um, it also talked about like ways that you can prevent kids from developing biases, and it's just there was kind of talking like to parents right there, just saying how like if they like keep a very open like mind, and there's like we will always love you and accept you, and they're very open and welcoming, it'll help the kids like to not develop like unhealthy biases or anything like that. So the first bias test that I took, it was the age one, and um, I thought that it would be the simplest, so I was like, okay, I'll start with that one. And at the beginning, it would ask you questions about if you have like a bias towards young or old people. It would first tell you like how you felt toward like yourself about the bias. And so I said that I prefer young people because old people kind of scare me, and I never really know what to talk about to them. Um, and so after that, like it would be like this little test, and you'd have to push the keys on your keyboard, and you'd have to like one key would put like would be like the old, and one I mean the yeah old, and one people would be the young, and so you would just like put them into groups, and then it would be like, okay, put the old and then it would be like bad words and good words, and so then you have to do like all the old people and the bad words on one key, and the um good words and the young people on one side, and you just have to do that, and then it would switch like the old people and the young people, so it would be like bad and young and good and old, and then you would just do that, and they would kind of like track how fast you were doing it and your accuracy and everything like that. And then at the end, my results were an moderate automatic preference for old people, which was really surprising to me, um, because I don't think that's right. And so I just think that throughout the test, I got faster at grouping them up and better at it, and so that's just like why they think I had a preference for old people. And so then the next one I took was the skin tone because my boyfriend's Tongan, so I was like, I wonder if I'll have a preference for dark skin. Um, and then the test was the exact same format as the last one, and I got moderate preference for lighter skinned people than darker skinned. Um, I don't feel like they're completely accurate because I don't feel like I have moderate preference for anything. Um, but at the end, it was like really hard for my eyes to like focus on it because just like a white screen and then like the word or the whatever it is, like all tiny on the in the middle, and so it was like really hard for me to just focus on that and like put it into the certain groups. And so I got a lot wrong this time around. And on the results page, they like show you what like everyone has gotten who's taken this test, and so like the percentages of like moderate preference, strong preference, things like that. And so on this one, I matched with 28% of people, which was like the biggest group of, and they all had moderate preference for lighter skin over darker skin. And then the last one, where I had moderate preference for older people over younger people, I only matched with 2% of people, and I really don't think that that's right. um, and the last one that I took was weight, and I was expecting to have a preference for thin people over fat people, so that's what I put in at the beginning. And the setup was the same as the last two tests. And so I just, took the test, and then at the end, I got moderate automatic preference for thin people over fat people, which I was expecting. I feel like that's the only one that I really feel like is kind of correct. I matched with 28% of other people taking this test, and then the biggest majority of people taking the test was 31%, for a strong automatic preference for thin people, which I thought was a little bit sad. But my dad's a physical therapist, and so we've just kind of always been raised just like always wanting to be healthy, and like, because you don't have to be thin to be healthy, but a lot of the fat people are like overweight and not healthy, and so I'm guessing that's why I have that preference. So through this activity, I learned that I do have biases. I don't think they're as strong as the test is making them out to be, but I do think they're there. But I don't think my biases like affect how I treat people in any way. I think that our generation is the most open-minded and the least discriminatory generation out of everything. Just because like I feel like we've had a lot more support for people. And so I think it's important to understand your biases so that you can prevent them from changing how you treat people. And everyone deserves an equal chance for everything, and their opportunities shouldn't be limited because of people's prejudices. And so my question for you guys is like, how have you seen people act based on their biases, and like if you've like been able to recognize like people's biases just by like seeing how they act? So yeah.